dawn reveals a gaping hole in the building. The crash destroys 31 apartments on 11 floors. The official death toll is 43, including Captain Fuchs and his crew. The Netherlands Aviation Safety Board quickly mobilizes 8 investigators. Frans Earhart is a senior member of the team. He's a former fighter pilot with 20 years' experience as an air accident investigator. But now he's facing his worst nightmare.
Je hoopt het van niet.
You hope it'll never happen, but then it does happen. A large plane in the middle of a residential area with many victims.
What triggered Holland's worst air disaster? And why did the 747 fly steadily for 8 minutes after the Mayday, only to nosedive without warning into a crowded apartment block? Now, by rewinding the events of that fateful day, and by going deep into the investigation, we can reveal what really happened to LL1862. Advanced computer simulation will take us where no camera can go, into the heart of the disaster zone.
In that case, heading 360 the heading.
Earhart checks recordings from air traffic control at Schiphol. They reveal that co-pilot O'Hard reported losing power in both engines on the right wing.
Number 3 and number 4 engine inoperative.
Investigators know that 2 engines failing at the same time is almost unheard of. The team begins to suspect a more sinister reason for the loss of the Israeli jet.
Van het begin af vanuit gegaan.
We thought from the beginning LL was possibly targeted by terrorists.
Terroristische actie was getroffen.
The investigators fear that Flight 1862 was downed by a terrorist bomb or even a ground-to-air missile. And they have a second mystery to solve. If the jumbo was hit by a missile, why did it stay airborne for a full 8 minutes before dropping out of the sky? To see if the terrorism theory stands up, investigators need to find the jumbo's engines and its black boxes, which record technical flight data and cockpit conversations. But it's a daunting task. Even if they survived the crash and the 1100°C inferno, they now lie buried under a mountain of rubble.
Het vliegtuig was zo compleet.
The plane had been broken into so many pieces during the crash that we didn't know where to start.
Waar wij moesten beginnen.
Early the next morning, search teams start to sift through the mountain of wreckage. Investigators know they may face a long wait for clues. Then, an unexpected development. An off-duty policeman reveals that he saw Flight 1862 as it climbed through Amsterdam's airspace. What he tells the investigators gives them an electrifying new lead. Investigators have no concrete leads to explain why LL1862 crashed into an apartment block in Amsterdam. Then, Jan Kaspers, a detective with the Amsterdam police, tells them an extraordinary story. On the evening of the disaster, he and an old friend were enjoying a yacht trip on Gooimeer Lake, 10 kilometers east of Amsterdam. Their boat was moored right beneath LL1862's flight path from Schiphol Airport. At 6:27 p.m., they're preparing dinner. Suddenly, they hear a loud bang.
What was that? Gasexplosie.
Kaspers rushes onto the deck. In the sky, he sees a 747. Beneath it, 2 objects are falling away.
At first I thought they were parachutes. And just as they were above the treetops, I realized that they might be airplane engines.
It's a startling revelation. Air crash investigator Frans Earhart immediately orders a team of divers to search Gooimeer Lake. Recovering the engines could solve the mystery. It's now clear to investigators that the two right-hand engines didn't simply fail.
Number 3 and number 4 engine inoperative.
They sheared off completely. Unable to see the engines from the cockpit, the crew had no idea what had happened. Now there's a new mystery facing the team. What could rip two 5-ton engines off a 747 simultaneously? The case for a terrorist ground-to-air missile or bomb now looks compelling. To prove this theory, investigators must recover the engines from the bottom of Gooimeer Lake and examine them for clues. Against all the odds, after just a few hours of searching, a diver gets a lucky break. He spots a massive chunk of aircraft debris. The team quickly identifies it as the outer engine from the 747's right wing. And there's another key find on land near the lake. Pieces from a 10-meter stretch of the same wing's leading edge. It's the team's first chance to find out why the engines fell off. They rush the wreckage to their labs. Scientists swab the engine and the chunks of wing for traces of the chemicals used in explosives. They examine the metal surfaces for the telltale micro-pitting caused by blast fragments. It takes 2 days. The analysis draws a complete blank. Investigators can find no evidence of an explosion, nor any other clue to why the engine broke away. It's a dead end. Now the investigators' only chance to solve the mystery is to find the 747's inner engine in the hope that it holds the key, or to locate one of the plane's black box flight recorders at the crash site. The Dutch Navy joins the search for the inner engine. It deploys 2 specialized salvage vessels, sonar, and more divers. But after 2 more days, they find nothing. The investigators are worried. With every passing hour, crucial evidence is slipping away.
Het water zal echt corrosie.
The water would start corroding the parts, and because of that, we were keen to find it as soon as possible.
De motor terug te vinden.
The news is equally bleak at the crash site. Search teams can find no trace of either of the 747's critical black boxes. To make things worse, there's another setback. Within 24 hours of the crash, the mayor of Amsterdam ordered diggers and bulldozers to clear the site. He's under huge public pressure to recover bodies as quickly as possible. Earhart and his team are powerless. Their only option is to follow the debris to its new home, an Amsterdam garbage dump. It seems a hopeless task. Then, after 3 days, Earhart is in his Amsterdam office
Met Frans.
when he gets a call. It's good news. One of his team has found the 747's flight data recorder.
We waren dolblij.
We were very happy. At last we could take a step forward in our investigation.
This black box records all the aircraft's critical technical data. It could prove the breakthrough they so desperately need. But when they open it, it's a terrible letdown. The tape inside is broken in 4 places. And data from the plane's critical final 2.5 minutes is indecipherable. They send the recorder to specialists in Washington, D.C. and the USA. It's a long shot, but it's their only hope. 11 days after the crash, the investigation team is at rock bottom. But just as investigators are beginning to despair, they hit the jackpot. A diver finds the inner engine, half buried by mud. It's still attached to the mounting that fixed it to the wing. Earhart and the team are excited but cautious. What if this engine proves as unenlightening as the first? It's battered and dented, but they can see no obvious evidence that it was hit by a missile. And when they run the battery of tests for explosives on this engine, once again, they find nothing. Investigators reach a turning point. They rule out a terrorist attack as the cause of the disaster. In fact, they can find nothing wrong with the engine itself. But when they examine its cowling, the outer casing, they quickly spot something odd. A dent, and on it, smears of black paint. Where did it come from? They send the paint for analysis.